Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of my wonderful and beautiful little subscribers out there. And how I love you all so, and I hope that you're all super duper well, super duper wonderful, and super duper delicious. And the life is treating you most deliciously. My juice little lights. Thank you, little lights. You're delicious and bright. Yeah, we still got grapes there. My delicious baby's still got grapes. Anyway, my delicious babies now then. So, what have I got for you today? Right, okay. Well, I do have to tell you, when my left eye was jumping the other day, my delicious babies, because that usually means bad news or disappointment of some sort. I was speaking to they're a beautiful dear little family, and I was speaking to the beautiful dear lady there. Now they're not in that way. And oh, bless her, a beautiful dear Mama Bear's soul. But well, she's broken two of her ankles. My delicious little baby, she's broke two. So it wasn't just one; it was two. My delicious little babies getting out of bed. Isn't that sad, my delicious little babies, okay? So, bless the beautiful dear little soul. I'm not going to say her age because, certain are listening, you know what I mean? We wouldn't want them to visit anywhere, would we now, my delicious little babies? There we are, if you follow me. Yes. Anyway, what's the time, Mr. Wolf? So it's almost 3:15. In our old afternoon, in our old Brummyland, England, my delicious little babies. And the weather, well, it's very dull. Mind you, because the switch has gone on my flipping dryer now, on my beautiful little baby dryer. And I was using like a little tool to pull it out and to flick the switch. Do you see what I mean, my delicious baby? And it did last for a while. But now you keep pushing it in and nothing's happening. Even when you pull it out, nothing's happening. I mean, I do not mean it that way, my delicious babes. I'm talking about my dryer, clearly. Okay? With myself, it would have to be Immaculate Conception. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay? Now then, I hope that wherever you are in the world, my little beautifuls, there we are, that life is treating you most deliciously, okay? And that, everything's rocking and rolling, okay? All shook up, okay? What else is it that I want to say? Well, so I flipping went shopping today. Didn't imagine baby to go and do another bit of shopping. And I only went in for like 2 or 3 things now then, not a lot. Anyway, so I flipping came out and I'd spent £34 something. Okay, and when I actually looked at what I received for nearly 35, ka-ching, ching, ching, squids. I thought, flip me. I thought, what's going on? And again, we get back to the nan, don't we, my delicious little babies? Because you have £1.99, or you can have £2.99. You know what I mean, my delicious little babies? And it's a chemist, yeah. It's called Savers. Okay, well, there we are. I didn't really seem to save an awful lot, did I, my delicious little babies, anyway? Mind you, I suppose if I went to Boots, it'd be even worse. There we are, because the same product, exactly the same product, my delicious little babies. They'd be adding another ka-ching, ching, ching, another squid on top. You know what I mean, my delicious little babies? Yes. All goes by the name, doesn't it? Like, if you look at a lot of products now, my delicious little babies, it's like they go by the old-fashioned name. Do you see what I mean, okay? But the trouble is, once there we are, the corporates get involved, okay? My delicious babies, things change. Changes. Do you see what I mean, my delicious babies? And I've seen it, there we are, quite clearly. So what was on my shopping list? So I got a couple of air fresheners, for the plugs, the plug-ins. Plug it in, plug it in. Do you remember back at the old COVID, wash your hands, wash your hands. You know what I mean? My delicious babies, yes. Okay? Because at the end of the day, you've got to laugh about it. I'm not laughing about what's happened, clearly. My delicious babies. But you have to laugh at, what they did. It's a bit like a nursery rhyme, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like the Grand Old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill and he marched them down again. And when they were up, they were up. And when they were down, they were down. And when they were only halfway up, they were neither up nor down. Do you know what I mean? Mad, delicious little babies, yes. A bit like, let's just think of something else. This little piggy went to market. This little piggy stayed at home. This little piggy ate roast beef, and this little piggy had none. And this little piggy went wee 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 all the way home. You know what I mean, Martin? Babies. I used to do that actually. You know, when my beautiful baby daughters were young. You know, and the little babies and the little toddlers. You know, just go. This little piggy went to market, and they used to love it again. Do you know what I mean, Martin? Babies. Okay, just something about those words, wasn't there, Martin? Babies. Yes. Anyway, Martin, babies. So yeah, so I bought a couple of air fresheners. Okay, poor little piggies, poor little chickens, poor little cows. You know what I mean? Mad little babies, anyway. So yeah, a couple of air fresheners. I kept repeating that. Then I bought a squirty air freshener. Then I bought a Febreze because I bought Febreze. So you know Febreze. Now, when they first came out, Febreze came out, and little babies are actually really, really good. But I've noticed over time. You see what I mean? Mad little babies, yes. Same with the plugins. Like you'll get a little bit of freshness. Like I've just plugged a brand new one in. You know, cleaned all the plug thing and everything, and then put it in. But it's not a lasting freshness, if you know what I mean. And yet that costs me. Was it nearly $4? Ching 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 for that. I bought one for my healing room. I can get it cheaper in Aldi actually, but there's a problem with Aldi, Martin babies. I went shopping there yesterday, and yeah, there's not a lot on the shelves, Martin babies. There certainly wasn't any white sugar, or you know, or you only find it in the smaller shops. You know, Silver Spoon. They do not seem to sell it in Aldi, Martin babies. Anyway, I happen to use Silver Spoon. Okay, Martin babies. Okay, although I was not born with a silver spoon. There we are, in my gob. Okay, Martin. Well, actually, I'm not so sure about that. Actually, what I've just said. Martin, babies. Do you know what I mean? Yes. There we are, all across here, and my room's warm. Okay, Martin, babies. Now then. So what else did I buy of any interest? Oh yeah, toothpaste. Martin, babies. So I bought some toothpaste. I bought 3 new toothbrushes, you know, 3. That's not occurred, Martin, little babies. It's just like you do not really very much see them come in. You know, it's usually 3s or 1, or do you know what I mean? It's not very often you get 2. What else did I buy of interest? Oh, I bought my hair dye. Mind you, I should really look at. There is a seed actually you can use, you know, which will turn my hair back. You know, brown again, Mads, little babies, you know what I mean? There we are, grounding, you know what I mean? Anyway, so what else did I buy of interest? Oh, I bought an impulse spray. My favourite one. Okay, Mads, I managed to get it for £1.89, and it's easy. It's even. I never need to stumble there. A larger version. So even though, you know, this poxy flipping ozone layer, what they said decades ago, I couldn't give a fiddler's F as far as I'm concerned. Okay, the fact is, there we are. We've been poisoned with our food, with our water, with everything, Martin, babies. So why not just have a bit more poisoning? Okay, Martin, babies. Sometimes, there we are. You've got to be like this. If I was to listen to every video, okay, to do with eating, drinking, you wouldn't eat, you wouldn't drink. Okay, Martin, baby, simple things. It just wouldn't be happening. Okay, you get yourself into a right. There we are, tis. Get yourself all stressed out. Oh, I cannot eat this. Oh, I cannot eat that. Do you know what I mean? I cannot drink this. I cannot drink that. Oh, I'm so depressed. Oh, I'm so down. What can I do about the world? Well, the thing to do, Martin, babies, is just make the flipping best out. There we are. Have a flipping bad job at the moment, Martin, babies. That's a simple thing, simple solution. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, £1.89. And it's called Tease Me. Tease me, tease me, tease me, tease me, baby, till I lose control. Yeah. You remember that song, Mad Lichtig Babies? There we are. What year was that song? Okay, there we are, just came into my noddle. Still lots of lights though. Oh, something else that I want to mention, Mad Lichtig Babies. Anyway, I'm trying to remember everything. I'm trying to remember everything that I bought. But when I look at it, and I took a real good look at everything what I bought, I thought, come on now. I thought, nearly 35 squids. Do you know what I mean, Mad Lichtig Babies? Yes. Taking the pee, man. I know it's not the shop's fault, and it's certainly not, bless them, the staff in there, bless their beautiful dear little souls, because they're very friendly there. They're really nice, it's not their fault, okay? They're working for a corporation, you know what I mean? Mad Lichtig Babies, okay? But come on. I remember when you could get a product for like 2 squids, ching ching. And now it's flipping double. Do you know what I mean? Mad Lichtig Babies, okay? Mind you, I suppose I bought some shower gel. Sweet delight. Okay, Mad Lichtig Babies. I'm just not one. I know everybody finds it really difficult to understand. Yes, we're poisoning ourselves. I repeat that again, but I don't mind that. I love my juicy little showers. You know what I mean? Mad Lichtig Babies. Oh, my fairy liquid. Okay, Mad Lichtig Babies, you've got to have your fairy, haven't you? Hands that do dishes can feel soft as your face with mild green fairy liquid. Okay, Mad Lichtig Babies. So, well, they may as well just poison us a bit more then. You know what I mean? Mad Lichtig Babies. Anyway, yeah, Sweet Delight, Redox. Yeah, I'm just not one for, it's really hard for ones to understand, but I'm just not material at all. I'm just not, look, the end of the day, as long as I can get a lather, you know what I mean, on my hands, to have my juicy little showers, wash my hair and wash my body, there we are. I couldn't give a fiddler's F. Do you understand what I mean? Okay, as long as, there we are, I'm clean, basically. That's really what this comes down to, Mad Lichtig Babies, really clean. You know what I mean? Mad Lichtig Babies, yes. Anyway, so that was very... Oh, I managed to get 3 yellow... There we are. Mellow yellow. Grapefruit. Okay, that took my noddle back. I actually felt, there we are, rather happy. It took me back to when I was younger, a wee young lass. When my dear daddy used to do us a half a grapefruit in the morning, glass of orange juice, even though, we're hearing so much on different videos, oranges. Oh, oranges, we've been told to have an orange day. Why don't they just F off? There we are. Why don't they just F off nicely with what they got to say? Because their input is really not necessary. Like I've just said previously, if we was to listen to every single word that these said, let me tell you, I'd find the nearest, I do not mean that as a joke, Mad Lichtig Babies, but I'm just saying a figure of speech, so this is not to offend her, to upset anybody. I'd find the nearest car park and take a running leap. Do you know what I mean, Mad Lichtig Babies? I'm pretty sure that for some, there we are, they just want to flipping depress everybody to the maximum. There we are, to the maximum. Mad Lichtig Babies, do you know what I mean? Because as we know, we've got a load of murderers. Na 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 na. He comes yet step by murderer. Excuse me, Mr. Officer. Murderer, still loving like that. Yeah. Extraordinary, just like a strawberry. My lips are burned, baby, all of the time. Ah, yeah. You'd be quite surprised what we're talking about fruit, Mad Lichtig Babies. Anyway, strawberries just go off way too quick. I remember decades ago, there we are, they used to taste totally different, okay? Not like what we got now. To do with a pineapple, Mad Lichtig Babies, which happens to be, there we are, an excellent antioxidant. Okay, but, You'd be surprised, there we are, at how many sting them out with the old pineapple. Why should that be happening? Shouldn't have all of these allergies anyway. I'm not going to go into that. That is, there we are, a video for a different day. My delicious babies now then. So yeah, so I had an eventful day, but at the same time, when I got my birdie seeds and everything, you know, mealworms and, you know, peanuts, you know, because they're like theirs, you know what I mean? So do these, are putrid, there we are, who run the world. They like us to eat mealworms, you know what I mean? My delicious babies been putting it, there we are, in the food a long time, do you know what I mean? I actually spoke to somebody the other day as well, my delicious babies, and they turned around and they were talking about almond milk. It wasn't the other day, it was about a couple of months ago. You know, this almond milk that you can buy. And, well, apparently they stopped buying it. They said, well, it's just like having water. Do you see when, there we are, when corporations get involved? There we are, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? It's like Heinz. Heinz is one of the largest makes, isn't it, my delicious little babies? Everybody knows Heinz. Beans means Heinz. But you take one look at what's in it, my delicious babies, you know what I mean? And maybe you wouldn't want a beans means hands, you know what I mean? My delicious babies. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's always another tin of beans, isn't there? Maybe cheaper. There we are. But more palatable. Anyway, my delicious babies, I do ramble on sometimes. Have you noticed? Oh, there is one more thing I want to say. So I was talking to this man. You know, not in that way, like, you know what I mean? And yeah, and he was telling me that his foot, I really cannot stand these words, deceased, corpse, I really cannot stand that. If you look at a lot of doctors and nurses, my delicious babies, because they know no better, okay? They could do the research, they could learn things, they could be sympathetic, they could be empathetic, they could have all of these beautiful qualities, but very sadly, there's very few and far between, because most of them are murdering little bees. Had to stop myself there. You know what I mean, my delicious babies, yes. And he was telling myself that his feet are looking, what did he say? He said they look like a corpse. That's what he said, my delicious babies. Now, you're talking about a man who very fit fit and healthy, my delicious babies. But again, this was somebody who very sadly, and my heart goes out to everybody, I will say that on my videos. Everybody knows that with myself. I'm certainly not taking the mickey out of our usual mankind, no. But again, we get back to it again, don't we, my delicious babies? You know, the fact of the matter is that, let's face it, to go on holiday, because he loves his holidays that much, my delicious babies, there we are, yes. That, well, bless him, he took 4. I said, can you remember which ones you took? And I went to say aye, and he told me aye. So I'm just going to say that to you, my delicious little babies can. Not in a good way at all. He was telling myself that as fit as he was, proper into fitness. There we are, my delicious little babies, proper into fitness. And he said to myself, says, you know what? He said, it's a struggle just to get up the stairs. Look at that, my delicious little babies. I said, so when we go back to when it happened, there we are, and he's had to face it. So I spoke to him, your man there, and I said, you must face, there we are, very sadly, what you have done and what you chose to do. I said, if you look back, would you have done the same thing? And he went, no. Okay, my delicious babies, and we're hearing a lot of it, but he did say to myself, he said, you know, he said it is nice to be able to speak to myself, but at the same time, he doesn't like what I had to say. No. Doesn't like what I had to say. See how I changed my tone? There we are, my delicious babies. Do you see? Yes. Because it's something that you have to face, what you've done. So, in other words, you give your sovereign away. There we are. This is just my view, my delicious babies. I'm a woman with a view. There we are. She'll have me effing view. So if you're prepared to give your sovereign away to go on a holiday, oh, look at that, rhymes, doesn't it? Away, holiday. Okay, Mads and Shtuck babies. If one's willing to do that, what does it really say about mankind? So I do not mean that nastily. I know that they've been duped. They've been flipping shafted and stung big times. Okay, Mads and Shtuck babies, that was the biggest scam that we are going, as well as the old pandemic, lockdown. You know what I mean, Mads and Shtuck babies? But if that's what you do it for, isn't it? To go on a holiday, to go on a little holiday. Do you know what I mean? Mads and Shtuck babies, well, for that man now. And I will say bless him, but, you know, I just said, well, the only thing I can say, the best advice I can give, I beg you, the Lord of mercy, do not take any more. Simple things, just do not take any more. But he knew, I think, after about the second one. So I'll take another two. This is what I'm saying. It's got to the point, Mads, babies. There we are, where this is nonsensical. There's no sense whatsoever. But if somebody says to yourself, okay, for an example, I'm just using an example, Mads, babies. Okay, every time your dog and bone goes ding, ding, ding. You know what I mean, Mads, babies? Oh, you've got to come into this, you've got to come into that. No, question it. There we are, simple things, question. You see, that's all I ask, please and thank you. Anyway, poor man. I'm going to speak to somebody else, actually, and I'm going to say, you know, if we can try and find a way to there we are, to help him in somewhere, Mads. Oh, that's something else I want to tell you. So that's all that to do with that. Anyway, Mads, so I've heard about this now. There we are, long time, and it's called the Tesla machine. Okay, my babies. Now, you know, I'm not too sure how it all works. You know, I've only seen glimpses of it, you know, how it operates. But it's supposed to be, there we are, exceptionally good, my babies. Whether or not it is, I do not know, okay? I cannot say. But for anybody who's listening to my video today, please, if you do happen to have an interest, maybe go it or go on to an alternative search engine, hopefully just to not go on others like G, you know, and ends with an E. You know what I mean, Mads, babies, because I don't think they're a liking. I do not feel that they're a liking. You know, somebody can have some way of getting themselves better. Anyway, Mads, babies, just thought I'd slip that one in. Now then, Mads, babies, what have I got for you today? Right, so we got our lovely, not in that way, we got our lovely Mahoney Lav, okay? So, what it should read in the old space bar in YouTube, Mads, babies, should read capital T, talking, space, lower little writing with, space, capital M, Mahoney, space, capital T, tips. Then two, okay, all spaces, and then awaken, and then the soul, capital S. Okay, Mads, babies. So the uploader is called Bless His Dear Little Heart. Okay, not in that way. Talking with Mahoney, tips to awaken the soul. Okay, he's now up to, is it 2.19 thousand subscribers or 2.17? Oh, bless our dear David. Okay, you can actually send him an email as well, my delicious little babies. Okay, because he does deal in supplements, you know, and things like this now then, which can help with different shall we say, for some in the world conditions. Okay, my delicious little babies, he clearly does not sell crap, which is what you hear on other videos. There we are, my delicious little babies. Always remember the conveyor belt. Okay, just like a supermarket. Now then, my delicious little I was well into this conversation. Thank you, dear David. Anyway, I sent a comment, bless him, and he sent me a comment. This is what I like about our lovely David Mahoney. You know what I mean? He appreciates, there we are, his subscribers. Others wouldn't give you the drippings off their ass. No respect whatsoever. For whatever reason, you know, just like others, they don't put a heart or a thank you. They don't put a like. They don't put anything because I think their own shots, is superior to others, isn't it? There we are. You've got some who are really pleasant and nice, smart, delicious babies. Like he's another one. He got 4.29 thousand subscribers. Richard Space Willett, iconic on YouTube. My delicious little babies. Okay, not in that way, not in that way. But he puts the hearts, as a way to say thank you. You see, this is what I'm saying. I feel that over the years, there we are, some have there we are, above their stations, like they're too good. There we are, like they feel they're too good to send somebody a like or to put a heart there, as appreciation, because they feel as if they've been too long in the tooth, isn't it? Too many years that they're sort of cemented there. Yeah, I did take a little shorty of, one of these cement mixers. Okay, my delicious babies, mind you, as I was walking in the grass, just by the nursery, my delicious babies, I seen a red brick. Lego brick. Okay, my delicious babies anyway. So yeah, I tend to have more respect, there we are, for those type of uploaders. Okay, even Mag, Bitter Truth, All Spaces, Next Level, bless him, he will put, much respect. Do you see what I mean? Okay, and give thanks. Okay. But you have others, like I say, who feel that there we are, so above their stations, they're so hooty-tooty up their own ass. There we are, it's just unreal. But they seem to forget, my delicious babies, there we are, who got them there. Do you see what I mean? Because they could be like myself, sat in a camera with no one listening, my delicious babies. Well, you do have the odd one or two, my delicious babies, who do listen to my videos, not many. But I'm not worried about that. But you imagine, okay, these others and how they behave. There are too many egos up their own asses, man. I ain't got time for it. You see, this is why I feel it's so beautiful. There we are, what's going on at the moment, my delicious babies, because there we are, you're really seeing who's who. Okay, there we are, you're really seeing it. And I think it's delicious. There we are, I really feel it's delicious. You know what I mean, my delicious babies? Let the music play. I just wanna dance the night away. Okay. Anyway, so our lovely Mahoney, I really got into his conversation, man. And what I kept doing is putting it on pause and going, yes, David, I like this. Do you know what I mean? And he actually put in a comment, oh, bless him, when he said, "We're back." And he said, I could just see ya. You know what I mean? In my head, doing that, because I kept pausing it. I was doing things in the kitchen, and I just go, yes, I agree with you, dear David. Not in that way, not that way. I agree with you, dear David. I'll tell you now, if for most of the women out there, because I know that there's some lovely dear women who, they've been married for decades to their dear husbands, and, they're super duper, there we are, deliciously happy, okay? But you do have, he's absolutely banging correct, you do have, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work this out. I've been there, a reader for decades, and the fact of the matter is sometimes some women just keep making the wrong decisions. It's true, my delicious babies, you know what I mean? Then they wonder why they're in that situation. Do you see what I mean? Okay, so I do not mean that nastily towards dear women, bless, but it is true. Men can do the same. Do you see what I mean, my delicious babies? But what we want now is our lovely dear David, like I said, not in that way, not in that way. I'd love to see him because he's got everything he wants, he's a dear business gentleman, and, and he's got everything he needs, everything that he wants, and he's another one, not materialistic. He's not all about the names of clothing and things like this now then. Do you see what I mean? That's the kind of gentleman that women, there we are, should want across the board. That kind of gentleman, somebody who can sit and listen to what his significant other, there we are, has got to say. There's not a lot of understanding gentlemen out there, They're not understanding at all. In fact, they're rather effing selfish, actually. It's all about me, myself, and I. I do not mean that nastily. I'm not saying it about all dear gentlemen, but Some dear gentlemen are just not very good at talking, are they? You know, they're not very good at, you know, having a conversation. Do you know what I mean? Martylish babies. See, whatever long-term there we are relationship I've always been in, flip me, I can talk for England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales, you know what I mean? I never shut the F up. Do you know what I mean, Martylish babies? I've always got something to say. They certainly know when I haven't got anything to say, you know what I mean? I completely come out the room, do you know what I mean, Martylish babies? Yes. But yeah, I'd really love to see dear David, there we are, with a really genuine, lovely, you know, just a marvellous dear woman. You know what I mean, Martin? Babies. That's what I want to see you with, dear David. There we are. That's what I really, really do, you know, to my heart, you know. He deserves a really, really lovely, beauty, you know, not in that way, clearly. A very beautiful and dear, sweet woman. But somebody who's not into all these bloody posh handbags and posh shoes and all that, because dear David said it on his video. Anyway, he's only said what I already know. Long time. I've said it for years, okay? And he said, you know, he does question it. If you see a woman who likes the labels, shoes, handbags, yeah, you question it. There we are. I'm the same, mad little babies. You see myself, honestly. I'd have the same jacket for 5 years, 6 years. It doesn't bother me. I give Kurt's away. I give everything away. It doesn't bother myself at all. Do you understand what I mean? Okay, I'm just not that way. I work off. Sorry, I've got 3 pairs of flip flops, but I work off 2. You know, the ones do look very Indian, if you know what I mean. They're not a very good fit. Yeah. So, you know, I'll just leave them there. Do you know what I mean? My little babies. And of course, I wear my little flip flops, you know. Even when it's snowing, my little babies, I still wear my flip flops. I'm just not high maintenance. So I totally got, there we are, where dear David was coming from. Anybody who's like that, or what brum wheels you're driving, there we are, or what job you're doing, forget it. Do you know what I mean? Nobody should ever in a million years, if that's how they are, they're very shallow. There we are, very, very shallow. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay? And that's the way I see it. And dear David, bless him, he's the same. So what he needs, okay, is, I mean, he's all right at the moment, but of course he is, I should imagine, still looking for his forever. But what he needs is someone who's not like that. Do you understand what I mean? If 2 love one another, it shouldn't be about what ka-ching, ching. There we are, pound, shilling, pence, dollars and change. I've said this so many times before, what somebody's got. It means nothing. Means nothing at all. You know, you could go and sit on a park bench. Not that I'm into takeaways or anything, you know, but of course if it comes from all, there we are. Then I'm very pleasing then, okay? With fish and chips. And you could just sit there. You don't have to go to no swaggy flipping restaurant, this posh restaurant shat. Why do that when you can sit on the park bench? It's cost you hardly nothing, mind you, these days. Even fish and chips are flipping through the roof, ain't they, mad to the babies anyway? But get back to the matter in hand. You can sit there together, have a good old conversation. Well, what's wrong with that? You see, this is what I'm saying, and this is the material. We get back to it again. It's all about, you know, like a man feels for these men out there, you know, oh, well, I've got to have this, I've got to have... No. Bring yourself, bring who you are. There we are, and be who you are. Okay? Come rain or shine. Do you know what I mean? My delicious babies, okay? As long as you're genuine and you're kind and caring, well, there we are. That should be all that matters. Do you know what I mean? And if there's a couple who are working together, they help one another. Just like my beautiful, oh, I love them so, my beautiful dear little Nana Bear and Grandad Bear. You know what I mean? They did everything together. You know, when he was back from sea and back from his job. Do you understand what I mean? That's how it operates. Do you see? So this is where I feel we need to come back to that as well. So I just love listening to dear David Mahoney's videos. I really, really do. And I mean that genuinely. Because the dear gentleman there we are, talks damn well common sense. And if more men and gentlemen were to listen to dear David, there we are, they would learn something. They'd probably, for some of them, if they're in marriages or whatever, there we are, be able to repair their own marriages if there's a little bit of a few issues, problems, you know what I mean, Martin, little babies, you know what I mean? It's all about listening. It's about talking. You know, it's having a conversation. Anyway, Martin, little babies, now then, I would never be interested in a man who doesn't like to talk. Not at all. It just wouldn't be my cup of tea, one iota. My cup of coffee, not. No. You have to be able to have somebody who you can, there we are, communicate with, who you can talk about your deep down, there we are, hopes, fears. You know, that sounds really corny, but no. If you cannot do that with your, who's supposed to be your significant other, and that is not rock and rolling, forget it, come out of the situation. This is why I've been on my own, there we are, for as long as I have. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to waste my time meeting somebody, do you know what I mean? Which is about as much use as a flipping chocolate teapot as a flipping ashtray and a motorbike. No, thank you. Do you know what I mean? So in my particular case, it's got nothing to do with the fact that I am not going to meet my forever. There we are, because I know I will. There we are. I know I will. But what I'm saying is, you know, I do not want somebody where I may as well just be peeing against the wind and talking to the flipping damn well brick wall. Do you understand what I mean, Martin, little babies? Because that kind of relationship never works. And I've been a reader, like I said, there we are, for decades. And I'm telling you now, it never works. Okay? I've had hundreds upon hundreds. There we are, upon hundreds. I've done thousands of readings in my time. And that is one of the massive problems. You know, the wheels are not turning. One's not talking to the other. And then one does want to talk to the other. The other one doesn't want to really listen. It's like if a situation's going wrong or the romance is going a little bit off the board, they're not talking about it. They're rather, what's that old-fashioned saying that I knew from when I was little? They're rather, as my beautiful dear little Nana Bear would say, they'd rather bury their head in the sand like an ostrich. There we are, and hope that the problem goes away. Well, it doesn't go away. Do you know what I mean? The only thing that goes away is the relationship, and eventually it ends. There we are, that's what happens, simple things. Now then, Mards, little babies, but of course it can all be prevented. Prevention better than cure. Anyway, next one, Mards, little babies. So, this uploader happens to have 446,000 subscribers, Mards, little babies, okay? And it's called, I'm going to spell it for you, it's all in capitals in YouTube, Mards, little babies. Vasya in the hay with spaces. I'm going to spell that for you. Vasya. Okay, Mards, little babies, in the hay. And it's all in capitals, Mards, little babies. That's the upload. And with anybody not in that way, not in that way. And these will be one-offs that I'm advertising. Okay, Mards, little babies. Now then. The video should read, no one will bully me anymore. We gave a new nose for a 10-year-old girl. Okay, Mards, little babies. So I'm just going to repeat this again for you, shall I? No one will bully me anymore, sorry. We gave a new nose for a 10-year-old girl. Now then, Mards, little babies, what this is about, okay, is this is in Russia. Okay, Mards, little babies. Now, this little wee young lass, bless her, a dear little soul, okay? She was born, I remember looking at this video, I think it was a few years ago, okay, because they've been on YouTube for rather a long time. But it's came up on my feed, and so this is why I'm going to mention it, okay? But I remember looking at this a few years ago, okay? To do with all of this channel and everything, okay? Not in that way, not in that way. And this little young girl, little lass, bless her, she was born with like a nose which is slightly longer than, you know, say another, I don't know, 10-year-old's nose. Okay, Mards, little babies. So what's happened is that they're giving her a new nose. Here's my thing, Mards, little babies, okay? The way I see it is, this little lass, and even when she went to school, because I remember, they were going through this. It's a bit like a diary, you know what I mean? Okay. So they obviously kept in touch with the family. Okay. Well, other little bands never wanted to play with her, called her names. It's just cruel. It's just vicious and it's cruel. What's the point why I'm mentioning this video today, my delicious little babies? Would I allow my 10-year-old little Ben, and by the way, they're a very cute family. Do you know what I mean by the word cute, my delicious little babies? I'm pretty sure you do, isn't it? Yes, well clued up. Okay, I've seen long time. Okay, my delicious little babies. Would I allow either one of my little baby daughters to have a nurse operation? Whether it's to do with other bands, calling them names or whatever. You know what I mean? No, I wouldn't. So there's a reason. There we are. Well, I said what I said. Now, okay. If you was to say, get somebody, oh, bless the beautiful dear little souls, not in that way, who's very deformed or something like that, or they've really got to, or say they've been involved in, bless the beautiful dear little souls, some sort of accident or something like that. Okay, and there's really a severe, there we are, disfigurement, little babies, and clearly the baby there now then's not, totally not happy with their appearance or something, or, could be a number of different reasons. Well, okay, I suppose we could say we could allow some of it. But to do with the nose, I personally, I actually thought that young little lass, like I just said, not in that way. I actually thought, there we are, she was rather sweet. She's also very clever, like I just said, cute. Same as her family, you know what I mean? Delicious babies, yes. But I actually thought she was rather sweet. But she certainly does not. If somebody doesn't like somebody else, then just leave it, isn't it? Come away from the situation. You do not have to be friends with somebody. But that just stands to reason, there we are, how some mankind can behave. Do you see what I mean? Or you have it in schools, don't you? It's a totally different thing what I'm saying now, but the moral's still the same. This has gone on for decades. If you do not have the right PE kit, or if you do not have the right clothes to wear or something like this, it can be very cruel. Do you see what I mean, Martin? Little babies. But no, I personally would never let one of my bairns have a nose operation, no. Because for myself, you give birth to little babies, okay? You love them with all your heart. So, they're your little baby, aren't they? So when you start this business, like I said, unless it's in, very sadly, in exceptional, that's the word, in exceptional circumstances, my little babies, well, and there's, no other way, but if they can be helped in some way, bless them, okay? But for this, no. If anything, I saw that little bear and I thought, oh, she's a special little wee young lass, special little bairn. You know what I mean? She shouldn't worry about, if other little bairns do not want to play with her. No, because she's got best wisdom herself. There we are. Do you see what I mean, Martin? Little babies, okay? And that's where I'm going to leave it. There's a point, there we are, to everything that I say. Now then, Martin, little babies, we must speed through this, okay? So, you've got this one here. This uploader happens to have 197,000 subscribers, my delicious little babies, and it is called capital T in YouTube. My delicious babies are all on YouTube. The space capital M motive. Okay, my delicious babies, that's the uploader, okay? The video should read, it's only just over 6 minutes long. Trump's 1988 prediction about Biden will blow your mind. Okay, my babies, it's got one exclamation mark, I put two. I'll just repeat that again for you. Trump's 1988 prediction about Biden will blow your mind. Okay, my babies, now then, this came up on my feed. Okay, my babies, now then, the final one. Okay, and the final one is called, this uploader happens to have 583,000 subscribers, Martin Babies Cat, and it is called capital N in the old space bar on YouTube, but then it is, should anybody happen to have any form of an interest, nostalgia, okay, Martin Babies, space, capital N, nerd. Okay, Martin Babies, so that's the upload, okay? Nostalgia, space, nerd. Okay, Martin Babies. And this video should read, and this is the one I was looking for. It didn't take me long to find anyway, Martin Babies, because I knew which one it was. It's just I had to type it in, you know. But the other day, Martin Babies, when I was telling you all about this computer, this Amstrad, this should read, and it's nearly 53 minutes long, Martin Babies, nearly 53 minutes long. And it should read, this computer did things no computer should do. Okay, Martin Babies, so I'm just going to repeat this for you once again. Okay, Martin Babies, this computer did things no computer should do. Okay, Martin Babies, okay, now I'm going to close my book. We need to go backwards. Okay, so yeah. So this is really interesting, Martin Babies, there we are, to listen to, okay? It may not appear it, there we are, but it is. Okay, it's a case of needing to really listen to this video. Okay, Martin Babies, and I do believe that things carry energy anyway, but there was clearly, I do not believe that this was made up for one moment, no. I believe, there we are, this is very true. But the question is, how can a computer, without no plugging in or nothing, how can it be doing that and groaning? Okay, Martin Babies, okay, so that's what I'm saying to you, okay? So wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon or evening, please have a super duper delicious time. You only get one life, my little honey bunnies. Sending peace, love, harmony and bright blessings to each and every one of you. And may your beautiful little selves and your beautiful little families, may you all be fully protected. And how I love you all so. You're super duper wonderful, super duper delish. There we are. And I love you. Okay, my delicious babies. Thank you, 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 thank you. For any views, for any likes, and for the occasional comments. Okay, so you just look after now, okay? Okay, my delicious babies. Love ya. Take care. Thank you once again for listening. Goodbye.